Hey guys, so we have some information here about pretty much what we have for this week's update. I imagine this is pretty much the gist of what we're getting here. Probably not any new units, just Zenkai stuff. The 1000-day celebration I thought would have started this week, which probably means we probably should have gotten some new units, but it looks like it's probably going to be next week. It actually makes sense though, because we look at the in-game news, and if you log in when the new day happens in the game, the login bonus does go through next week. There's actually 2 login bonuses up right now. There's the 21 login bonus, and then there's the Future Gohan login bonus. They both go for 1 more week, so I imagine next week is when we'll start to see all this 1000-day celebration stuff, which I imagine is probably going to be a pretty big celebration for the game. But nonetheless, we do have, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, we do have confirmed, obviously this was confirmed a few days ago when they announced it ahead of time, but the Zenkai for EX second form Cell. So he raises his overall firepower and lowers enemies' draw speed and health restoration by unlocking all of his uniques. Power up your debuffs and increase damage to enemies with special arts. Go for Zenkai in the event. So obviously this is another free-to-play Zenkai unit. He's an EX unit, much like the 3 Saiyan Saga units, Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa. We also had the blue first form Frieza, so now we have this Cell. Another blue Zenkai. It's a lot of blue Zenkais they're throwing out here. So he seems more like somebody who's more oriented towards debuffing the enemies more so than buffing himself, which is interesting. The only unfortunate thing about this guy is that he kind of released at a bad time, because we just got, you know, the blue Zenkai 21, who is going to be fitting basically on all this guy's teams, and she's also free, and she's probably going to be much better than this guy is. So I'm not really sure if he's going to be able to fit as well as she is on his teams, but we'll see. But that's Cell. Next, we have Final Form Frieza, the yellow one. So he boosts his firepower by unlocking all his uniques. Draw 1 random card when you have 3 or less cards when facing a tag Saiyan foe, and restore your ki by 30. He's the perfect attacker to pit against Saiyans. So, people, you know, had this image pulled up. You know, they had this video when Toshi was fighting against the V-Jump guy. And Toshi was using, I think the team was this Final Form Frieza, he was using red Metal Cooler, and he was using purple LF Frieza. And now people are like, oh, it's confirmed, now Metal Cooler and LF Frieza are going to get a Zenkai. I don't think so. I don't think, I literally see people on the timeline saying it's confirmed. It's not confirmed. Don't read into it too much. I don't expect LF Frieza to get a Zenkai. Metal Cooler, possibly, maybe we'll see that. LF Frieza, I don't think they'll go that far. Doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel like the right time for him to get a Zenkai yet. Yeah, I mean, this guy looks interesting. I think the major thing about him, we can take a look at his stats and stuff here. But keep in mind, these characters are both These characters are both units that have received balance updates in the past, so their stats are actually buffed from what they originally were. So this Frieza strike attack actually is not horrible, because again, he did receive that balance update at one point, so almost 240k. Blast attack's awful, and then defenses are pretty balanced between each other. His kit is pretty much cut and dry, because it's just extra damage versus Saiyans, then extra damage versus Frieza Force. Very easy. His main ability just draws his ultimate arts, but he actually does have a pretty solid foundation for what he can do, because if we take a look at his ultimate already deals massive damage. And then this debuff that he inflicts is actually pretty decent. 20% strike damage inflicted by allies, lineage of evil for 15 timer count. So it's kind of like a supporting effect on there. The only thing he really needs extra is blast armor on this, because, you know, most of the time when a new unit comes out, or a Zenkai comes out for an older unit, they end up getting blast armor on their ultimate. Just makes it a lot easier to land it. So I would expect to see that on here. His green card immobilizes enemy and inflicts enemy with attribute downgrade plus 15% of damage received for 15 timer counts, and it already is a long range green card. This was one of the things that was buffed back when he received his balance update years ago. But this is, you know, a solid green card. It's not like as good as the LF Frieza's green card. It's not as good as the red Frieza's green card that we just got. But it's solid. A solid foundation. In terms of what they can update for this, maybe gives key back on hit, maybe you buff this to 25% or so, and then that's pretty much good enough, I would say. His special move deals major. I expect this to go to massive. Inflicts enemy with attribute downgrade plus 15% of damage received, or strike damage received for 15 counts. This is probably going to go to all damage, and buff this to massive, and that's probably good enough, I would say. But that's pretty much it. I mean, this guy's pretty cut and dry. The one thing I will say, though, that I'm a bit disappointed in what they're doing here is they're specifically making him what it sounds like very good against Saiyans, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But he draws a card and he restores ki when you're fighting a Saiyan. What Zenkai unit draws a card and restores his ki by switching in for free without having a restriction? This guy, Super Saiyan 3 Goku. So he comes in, he restores 50 ki just for free. When you enter the battlefield, there's no restriction on that, and he gets extra ki recovery for no reason. And then, as long as you have a Saiyan battle member, by the way, which is much easier than having a Saiyan enemy that you're fighting against, at that point, you end up drawing a strike card, which is a specific card that he wants to draw. This Frieza just says, draw a random card. This Frieza is going to be a melee type, by the way, so he would rather draw a strike card than any other card. This guy's drawing a strike card, and he's getting some extra damage reduction on top of that. So this is an easier condition to fulfill, and he's getting a better boost than this guy's harder condition to fulfill, and he's getting a worse buff from this. Well, by the way, he's also restoring ki by 30. This guy restores ki by 50. So, to me, this just seems like a worse version of Super Saiyan 3 Goku's ability. So, we'll have to see how they handle other things that he's doing, but based off of what I'm seeing initially based from this tweet here, I'm not super impressed by what they're doing for this guy so far. I mean, we don't know anything else, but, you know, we'll have to see what they do. So that's this Frieza. And then in terms of what this would do for the Lineage of Evil team, I don't think this is one of the Zenkais that we were really looking forward to, at least me. Sure, he needs it. The one thing I will say about this guy that I'm really disappointed in, that doesn't look like they're changing, because I feel like if they were going to change this, they would mention it in here, because it would be the first time ever they changed it. But his Z ability is really bad. It's just yellow both defenses. That's pretty bad. Again, if you take a look at the actual Lineage team, there's no one else on here that would really benefit from that other than Full Power Frieza. And Full Power Frieza at this point, once this guy gets a Zenkai, you're pretty much never going to run Full Power Frieza, assuming this guy is much, much better than him, which I assume he should be, because this guy's fallen off a little bit recently. So, this yellow buff, I mean, who else are you going to run that's yellow on the team? EX Chilled? No. EX Second Form Frieza? I mean, I kind of like EX Second Form Frieza. He's definitely aged, and he's not as good as he was. So I wouldn't probably ever run him now. So there's no one else. I mean, unless they go ahead and Zenkai Full Power Frieza at some point too, that would probably be pretty cool. I mean, you could do a yellow blue setup at that point with both these guys, and then Final Form Cooler or the EX First Form Frieza for, you know, triple Zenkai team if they did that. But I mean, the fact that they're buffing this yellow Frieza now tells me they're probably not going to be buffing Full Power anytime soon. The Zenkais that I would rather have seen besides this guy would have been Full Power. I feel like could have been a much more impactful buff to this team because of the fact that he's pretty much the only defensive unit we see on this entire team, with endurance, with cover cut, all that stuff. Or Green Golden Frieza. I've been asking for Green Golden Frieza Zenkai for like 2 months at this point, and I haven't really seen any progress on that. But he would be a massive buff for this team. I mean, having like a really, really top tier green unit. Metal Cooler is pretty good, but I mean, this guy, Zenkai, would push him, and honestly, he would probably push this team to like the top 3 teams in the game or something, just by him alone. His kit, his baseline he's getting, he does everything. Blast Rate reduction, damage increase, card draw speed, ki recovery, extra damage versus Saiyans, debuffs. He has an AoE ultimate, he gets ki back. His green card is ridiculous. His special move is like 1 billion damage, inflicts bleed. His ultimate restores ki, does extra, like he does everything. He actually fulfills everything. So this guy has the ultimate baseline for a Zenkai, and that's why I really wanted him to get one. I'm not saying he won't get one, but you know, doesn't look like he is now. But the yellow Final Form Frieza, you know. I'm trying to think of like where would he even fit on this team. I guess you want to run him alongside one other blue unit at least. So I mean, he fits alongside Cooler, he fits alongside this guy down here. That's yellow blue. I guess maybe you also run him with this guy. The only other 2 viable options to run are LF Frieza or Red Frieza. Red Frieza is just so good. I don't know if you can afford not running Red Frieza. Yeah, yellow is just a weird color, especially for a unit that doesn't have defensive capabilities like Full Power does. We'll have to see. Again, I'm not sure how they're going to handle this yet, but that's pretty much what we're looking at for Frieza. For Cell, let's just quickly look at him real quick. It is extra blast damage versus androids and an extra blast damage versus Saiyans. That's pretty much all he's doing. So he's actually pretty similar to the Frieza because both of his abilities are targeted towards tags to do extra things against them. But it looks like he's going to be more so a debuffer, and that's kind of hinted at with his main ability. You know, 7%, or sorry, plus 7 to strike and blast arts cost for 20 counts. And then his green card has inflicts flash. I think it mentions his green card in here somewhere. Yeah, power up your debuffs and increase damage to enemies with special art. So at the very least, we know this is going to have an extra effect on it where it increases damage received to the enemy or something. And I hope this also gets buffed to long range, which it should, otherwise it's pretty much useless. But this guy is obviously just blue. This is also a pretty bad Z ability, just blue. But he's going to be buffing blue EXs when he gets a Zenkai. I don't know. This guy's going to be completely overshadowed by 21, I think. But yeah, it's fine for another option for free-to-play players to have. But that's pretty much all we have. Let me know down below what you think about the fact that this guy's getting a Zenkai alongside Frieza. Obviously, for a Frieza unit, I'm pretty excited, but there are better options I think that they could have done as opposed to this yellow Frieza here. But he was going to get one eventually, so you might as well just do it now, right? Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you all in the next one.